Morning, Ms.
Welcome,
Roundtree.
welcome everybody. I am so happy everyone could make it and everyone has been safe. And thank the Lord that you're all right. So I call the meeting to order, and I welcome everyone back. Back to our meeting. Our first business is to like I said, I just wanted to make sure everyone was all right and speak to you, and thank you for coming. We had
Okay.
so much trouble last meeting, and I am so glad that we were all able to make it online this meeting. One of the things that happened last meeting was we didn't get to approve the minutes.
Before we do that, Ms. Roundtree, can we call on Brian Fisher to make his statement? Okay.
All right, Brian, could you come on and make your statement?
Thank you, Ms. Roundtree, and thank you, Mr. Lozen. Once again, my name is Brian Fisher, Title VI Regulatory Compliance Officer with DDOT. What I'm here to do is I want to let you know that we have a Title VI Public Involvement Survey that we're encouraging all of the participants of the LAC meeting today, including the panelists, to complete for us. Doing so, you're helping DDOT to comply with Title VI regulation, which requires the collection of statistical data to aid in assessing DDOT's outreach efforts among those who are affected or interested in all of DDOT's activities. Why? Because we want to make sure that no one is discriminated against based upon the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which specifically states that no person in the United States shall, on the grounds of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or otherwise be subjected to discrimination under any program, service, or activity receiving federal financial assistance. So we want to gain your input and we want to track who's actually coming to the meeting, so that way when changes are occurring, we have your input and we know who to talk to and who to send the email. Our marketing director has added the link into the chat. So anytime throughout this meeting, if you can go ahead and complete that survey for me, it'll be great. Once again, thank you, Ms. Roundtree, and thank you, Mr. Lozen, for your time.
And Brian, if they can't fill it out during the meeting, where can they find that information?
They can also send me an email to DDOT, that's DDOT, Title VI, TITLE, the number 6, at DetroitMI.gov. Once again, that's DDOT Title VI at DetroitMI.gov. That's DDOT, TITLE, the number 6, at DetroitMI.gov.
Okay, will it also be on the website?
Yes, it will.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so
Sabrina,
so just email you and then just request the surveys and then you'll email it back to us to complete.
Yes, if you cannot fill it out on the chat, I will also email it to you if necessary. Yes, but
Sabrina.
in the chat, there's a smart sheet that you can click on. It'll take you right there. It takes less than 2 seconds to fill out, and you'll be done.
Okay, have you put it on that yet? Because I don't see it.
Yes, she has it on the. Our marketing director put it on the chat right now. It's at the bottom. So you may have to scroll down a little bit. It says DDOT encourages all participants to complete our Title VI Public Involvement Survey, which requires the collection of statistical data to assess DDOT's outreach efforts. And then the link is right there.
Okay, I see it now. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, now back to, we did not approve the minutes for May 19th. And
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I got a question. That link that's in the chat, it says the form is not found.
Yeah, I got the same message.
Okay, our tech team is going to resolve that issue.
Okay.
Bear with me while we update that, please. Thank you.
Okay, Madam Chairman,
yes,
we're back to approving the minutes for May 20th and August 18th.
yeah. You got the 20th, it's dated the 19th. I'm looking at it, it's dated the 19th.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
we'll make
Anyway,
that correction.
mm-hmm. So we need to improve both minutes for the 18th and for the 19th. So I'm waiting for a motion. Anyone?
I motion James Jones.
Is there a second? Hello?
Andre, you're
I
muted.
second it.
Remember, folks, you're muted, so you need
Okay,
to talk.
you got to learn to.
Yes,
unmute.
Andre Bryan, I second.
Okay, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it has moved to accept the 2 minutes.
I'll make the adjustments on the dates so that it reflects in the minutes appropriately.
Right, I had pulled it up so I could read it again. I want to make sure. So I
Okay,
can put it in my file. Okay, so next is my report. I really don't have too much of a report. I just wanted to talk about something that we have already on the minutes, and that's paratransit eligibility. I want to talk about that because that's a big problem, because it's hard to get it together because of the pandemic, because we can't seem to get to the doctors, or the applications are coming in too slow. I put in for application in September. I got it this weekend. It just passed the application. I had an old one and they didn't want to accept it. And then my social worker, they're not in their office, and she came by one day and she filled out her part from the old application. So I'll talk to them about that when they come on. So anyway, we need to talk about that because it's a big problem, because now they're getting ready to shut some things down again. So we're gonna have another big problem. So we'll talk about that. So we shall go to DDOT administrators. Don, you know who's here because I can't see him.
okay, so we'll
you
begin
can
with Chief
Mhm.
Brown, if you're there.
Good morning.
Good
This is
morning.
Chief Brown, Transit Police. Actually, we have no news is good news from us. We have very few incidents or issues to report. We are responding to any complaints instituted by any community groups or passengers. We're also being assisted by DPD, that's the Detroit Police Department, with some operations regarding special narcotic activity in the area of the transit centers, both Rosa Parks and State Fair. Arrests have been made by both transit and Detroit police officers, and we're continuing to monitor the situations and take the appropriate action.
Okay.
Very good, thank you, Chief. Okay. Josh Reid, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, great. Good morning, everybody. Glad you're here. Yeah, I would like to address the concerns that you have on the paratransit application process later when it's appropriate. But as far as paratransit and the way some of this has been unfolding with the pandemic, we are collectively working together to try to ease some of those concerns and pains that we're all having. So yeah, we'll talk about that later though. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Is Larry Luckett available? Larry Luckett, I don't see. Jennifer, is he on?
He is not on.
Okay, then we'll move on to Larry Smith if he's available.
Good morning. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Larry Smith, Assistant Director of Operations. Within the Operations Division, we have a couple of updates as we are coming close to the end of this year for operations. I'm just trying to finish out strong. On previous calls, I made you all aware that we were going to be ramping up some training efforts for our operators in response to a lot of the complaints we have received in regards to their behavior, their customer service, the lack of empathy in regards to the ADA community, as well as not abiding by our policies. So the first launch of our training was the de-escalation training, in which we brought in an outside entity to help train our operators on better proactive measures they can take when dealing with conflict, as well as customer service resolutions, how they speak, their demeanor and things of that nature. They are going through that training. It started on this past Saturday, went through the first weekend, had a really good response. Drivers are being a lot more involved and a lot more engaged in that training, and we will do the next batch of training this coming weekend. Also, in addition to that, they will be going through their enhancement training, which is also come up to the start of next month. So we're ending the year strong with putting all of our operators. It is mandatory for all of them to go through such training to make sure that we're holding them accountable, and not just accountable, but also following up with the complaints that we receive from you all and from all of our parties to make sure that we are doing what's necessary to make sure that we improve on our end. Also, in addition to that, we are wrapping up the year with looking at where our schedule is, where service is lacking, where we can kind of boost things up as we are trying to get some operators in. Of course, with the threat of things possibly getting shut back down, that doesn't mean that we will reduce our service any further lower than what it is right now. But we do have the possibility to continue to ramp things back up and try to look at where we are and increase those lines where it's not sufficient, as well as some of the stops that we've noticed where we're kind of missing those stops, or the overcrowding has become an issue. So those are all things that we're looking at to end this year and possibly start off January on a good foot and try to ramp things up.
Is there any discussion about fares coming back?
Those discussions are ongoing right now. There is nothing definite, but of course, once that decision is made, we are sure that the appropriate parties will be ciphering that information out within enough time to make everybody aware, and everybody can kind of have a heads up as to what's coming.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Larry.
You got it.
Okay. Is Riki there?
I am.
Good morning, Riki. Do you have any
I
reports for
do,
us?
actually. Yeah, I apologize if it sounds like I'm traveling right now, but I am going between terminals because we are in the midst of a large milestone in our tech upgrade. So not only is it going to be a improvement in the overall technology that faces our customers, such as enunciation and location of vehicles and being able to assist our passengers in knowing where our vehicles are, but it's also one where an increased amount of data is going to be able to be utilized by operations, maintenance, customer service, marketing, scheduling, so that we can improve our service and we can service not only the ADA community, but also be able to address concerns where ADA community concerns occur, which previously, when it came to locations, it wasn't as accurate as what we had before. So I apologize for the sound. I'm traveling between terminals because we're getting this off the ground. Hopefully you'll see some uptick in performance real soon. We're looking forward to rolling more of that out as we speak.
Okay, I understand the app is up and operational, and some people have used it and reported that it's working well.
Yes, it is up and operational, and they are a great partner. Not only app-wise, but also transit app-wise is something that, as a trusted name, they are known throughout the agency as well. So
That's great. And I have not heard any concerns about the enunciators. They seem to be working quite well.
terrific.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, thank you, Riki. Drive safe.
Thank you.
Okay. Jennifer, anything from the marketing?
Yes, just a reminder that the monthly community input meeting is this Thursday at 5 o'clock. It will be a virtual meeting. You can find more information on the website, www.detroitmi.com/DDOT. Marketing, I hope many of you guys have been seeing the numerous of emails and other communications that we've been sending. We've actually sent a newsletter yesterday pertaining to some winter tips, best practices, if you will, to accommodate you guys as you guys are boarding our buses. There are plenty of other updates that I would like to share. Unfortunately, I can't share everything right now, but there are some new and exciting things coming, forthcoming for DDOT in the next couple of weeks. So more to come, but just please remember to pay close attention to our social media channels, our website, email our notifications at the Rosa Parks Transit Center and at the Transit Hub. Thank you.
Okay,
Could you also, excuse me, could you also sometime put some things on the news, on TV, on the news? Because a lot of people watch the news and listen to the news. Some people don't have computers. They don't go to some of these websites. I'm in a senior building. These people don't go to some of that stuff and they listen to the news. And I noticed that other paratrans, I'll tell things on the news because I'm up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And we don't have information on the news. Like the buses, they tell when something bad happened, but they don't tell, you know, like, oh, the bus service is free, or the bus service, DDOT is doing this, and DDOT would like people to know that such and such is happening and the service is so, but smart are telling people on the news. What's your problem? You don't give information out to the news so that they can tell it on the newscast during the day.
Yes, your point is understandable, and the marketing team is working closely with the city of Detroit's communications team for that. It's partially because we are tied to the city, in which all of our marketing and media relations efforts have to be filtered, and it has to be a part of a coordinated effort with the city. So we're having those conversations. I believe, and I'm confident that changes will be happening soon in that regard. I know we've done some radio. We will continue to do our best to ensure all communications across radio, TV, digital marketing, social media, and then of course our grassroots outreach efforts will continue to be ramped up. We appreciate that comment, and I will go back and let leadership know that as well.
Okay.
I'd also like to encourage all the LAC members to attend Thursday's input meeting. If you haven't attended any of those hearings regarding the proposed transit center at State Fair, it'd be good to maybe listen to this meeting coming up on Thursday, because I'm sure they'll be discussed again. And that's an important piece of the transportation future here in Detroit. And it would be good if everybody could, at least know what's going on and see what people are talking about. Okay, thank you, Jennifer. If Simone's available, I'd like to hear from you. You're still muted, Simone. Simone, can you unmute yourself?
Where are you? Okay, then I will buzz you in because my buzzer doesn't work if you push it and then you come down the hall. All right. I'm 101.
Okay, Jennifer, can you possibly help Simone? Yes, ma'am. Okay, thanks. Jennifer, people are saying they're having a problem with unmuting. Is there?
Yes, if you press *6, Simone, are you still there? I don't see you in the attendee section.
Okay, we can come back. Okay, we can go to Geena if you're there.
Hello.
Oh, Geena, are you there?
Hey, that's just telling you we'll be here on Monday next because of the holidays here.
Okay.
Okay,
There
I'm
you go.
here. Can you hear
Very
me?
good. Yeah, we can hear you, Geena. Thank you.
Okay. The only thing that I have right now is that we have a new schedule starting January the 18th. There will be no changes, only minor added service for major routes that were lessened during this time. And that's it. That's the only thing I have at this time. That
What-
starts
what-
January 18th.
What routes would be added? What service? Yeah.
Jefferson, Van Dyke, and some trips going to those factories. I'm not sure the name of the factories, which is the Plymouth and also the Van Dyke. That's just a little added service.
We'll add a tweak.
Yeah,
Okay.
going back to a full service on Jefferson and full service on Van Dyke and some routing into more regular routing into the factories that they just did. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Somebody asked me about the express buses and what their status is. Do you have any?
The express buses is more like for if we have enough drivers available, then they will be put out. But other than that, those are like the last thing that will go out. But that's operations. Operations, they are available at this time. Operations has control of that, but they're more like trippers at this point.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Mhm. No
Okay.
problem.
Is Simone back at all? She available? Okay.
Simone, are you available?
There,
I just got the unmute. Oh my goodness.
there you are.
Thank you. And the *6 doesn't work on the phone. I have my phone and my computer on, so I'm not exactly sure, but thank you for your patience, everyone. So with the paratransit service, we're currently operating at about 55%. We have 6 providers that we're using. We lost one last month. Odyssey Transportation is no longer with us. So we have Bright, Checker, Delray, Lakeside, Mo, and Peoples. Still honoring the social distancing on the vehicles and encouraging those riders to come with masks. If you do not have a mask, the driver will accommodate you with one. We're also working with Deanna and Valerie and the rest of the Phoenix team for the Michigan Ride Paratransit app. We have like 10 beta users. I know Andre Bryant mentioned that he was interested in being one of the users. And Mr. Bryant, I'm not exactly sure if you had a chance to follow up with Valerie.
Yes, I have used the app as well.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. So what is your feedback? How do you like it?
Oh, I like it. I love it. I love it.
Okay, good. Hopefully we can, eventually roll that out to the rest of the riders, once things are finalized with the Phoenix team. So thank you for that feedback.
Yeah, Simone, I have one question.
Okay.
I know with the app you have 2 days. You have 2 days, at least do it 2 days in advance. Is it the same thing when you call in now, or can you still schedule 1 day out when you call in?
You can still schedule 1 day out, and we still honor same day scheduling. Oh, and that was something else I meant to mention. We also schedule on Sunday. So we are scheduling 7 days a week, same day service, and you can schedule 1 day out.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Anything else, Simone?
Simone, did you say you scheduling 7 days a week now?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Okay.
And that
Anything?
is all done. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Simone. Appreciate that. I'm the last one on the agenda. First, I'd like to introduce Rick Spivey, who is taking and has been recommended. He's not officially approved yet and appointed to the LAC, but he'll be futurely our next representative from DAAA, and we'd like to welcome you, Rick, to the LAC.
Thank you.
With regards to my report, you've got a lot of surveys out there, folks, to take. MDOT is asking for disabled citizens to identify and understand needs, that you take a survey. If you want that information, if you could just contact me by phone or by email, and I will give you that link. It's quite cumbersome and detailed link, so I'll either send it to you via email or such. So that's the first thing. Secondly, I've been quite busy with a lot of ADA complaints with regards to front door boarding. I am addressing those, and we're substantiating quite a bit. But as you heard from Mr. Smith, that operations has been working with me in particular, and has now planned an ADA refresher course that will start fairly soon. And they also have been doing some other communications with drivers about those complaints. But the ADA complaints we take seriously, because it is all based not only in regulation by FTA, but by the ADA Act itself. And as I've been telling people all along, the Department of Justice and FTA has been saying since this pandemic start that nothing's changed with regards to ADA boarding. So we're trying from our perspective to be the voice for the community. So as the weather changes and gets colder, it's kind of tough to be out there and waiting for buses. And if you're passed up or if you don't get picked up, it's been quite the undue hardship, in my opinion, on the ADA community. But I'm seeing some movement to the better, and we're doing much better in terms of addressing those complaints and concerns. So I'm heartened by that, but we'll still keep the foot on the pedal to make sure that all those issues are resolved. Seeker riders, I do have seeker riders out there. In fact, we resolved an issue about a bus stop. Thank you, Geena, and Carlston for addressing a bus stop problem at Grand River and Greenfield. Apparently there was no shelter and we got one back up, so that's great. They're also been monitoring, boarding and all those. What they're seeing is, such things as mask wearing and is gotten better, and just, the problem has been though that there's a lot of overcrowding on buses. That our standard is 10 per standard bus, but sometimes people reported 25, 30. I saw on a videotape at one stop, at least 10 people get off a bus, and there was at least that many more on the bus. So I know it's very difficult, and as the weather's gotten colder, we're going to see people just ignore some of those standards about how many people can be on a fixed line bus. But we'll continue to monitor that and work with everybody as best we can so that people can get to point A, point B, and don't know what's going to happen these next 3 weeks with the new mandates that the governor's put out. But we'll just try to make sure that people can ride as best that we can, and we'll work with everybody to do, as you can see by all the reports. There's a lot of great things that are in the works and are working, but we need to do that. And then finally, as we come to the end of these reports, Bill Schwartz, are you there? Bill Schwartz did a presentation for us in May on the on-hands coordination plan. and he has a final report. He said he'd like in just a couple minutes to bring to us that report. So I'll just introduce Mr. Schwartz right now. If you could give us your report, sir.
Okay, good morning, everyone.
Morning.
So the last time I spoke to you, I mentioned that we are working with the RTA of Southeast Michigan on the coordinated plan. It is named On Hand. Just to refresh for those who were on the last call and to educate those who are new to this, the Coordinated Human Services Transit Plan is something that is required by the Federal Transit Administration for recipients of Section 5310 funding, which is funding for older adults and people with disabilities. And so the process is done every 4 or 5 years. And the idea is to understand the mobility needs of these populations and also people with low income, and to try and improve coordination. And that, particularly in the case of Detroit, we're looking at coordination between DDOT and SMART, but we're also looking at other services that take place in the region. So the project was about a year-long project. It is now wrapping up. We last met with you and presented some of the sort of topic areas that we're looking for input on, things that we were helping to try and prioritize, and took your input and the input of folks from the SMART Advisory Committee, as well as the Coordinating Council for Washtenaw County, and developed a series of strategies. So I'm not going to go through all of these, but basically the broad topics of strategies that we developed to try to address the complexity of the network. One of the key ones is to have a regional coordinating council. So yet another group that works together, essentially taking groups like yours and integrating, coordinating with other groups, aligning the policies and procedures and public facing materials around ADA. So for Detroit, that really means more consistency between Metrolift and Connector in the SMART region. Some focus on improving the technology, which some of you are already familiar with in terms of what's happening with the paratransit booking app and so forth. There's also strategies about trying to simplify the services. And that's really a bigger issue in the SMART region, where there's a lot of different SMART branded services, but people get very confused about them. Another one that is part of this process is to try and fill those gaps. I remember our last conversation, there were some of you talked about the challenges of using transit to get to a place such as shopping in Dearborn, I think was one of the examples, where a car drive, it would be 20 minutes, but using transit or paratransit, it's a very long trip. So obviously trying to fill those gaps. And one of the ideas there was to try and look at some type of improvement on subsidies of these trips, so some type of voucher subsidy program. There are a series of strategies around fares. One that I would like to highlight is an idea of what is known as fare capping. And what that really means is that if you can't, for people who can't afford to purchase a fare card for that is heavily discounted if you buy it in advance, as you accumulate the daily fares, once you reach the equivalent amount on the regional fare on the fare card, you don't have to pay any more for the rest of that month. Also, to try and focus on some of the infrastructure needs, I think we talked about at the last meeting, issues with bus stops, and obviously improving accessibility is essential to getting people to be able to use fixed route safely and more comfortably. There's some other ideas around that, including subsidizing the construction of ramps at people's homes so they have better access. And there are a series of other strategies with I think a key one, which is going to be no surprise to all of you, is to try and address the lack of regional investment in transit. So one of the key things there is to be able to track it clearly and report on it clearly and share this information that would go out to elected officials to try and advocate for more funding. So those are the sort of the high level presentation of the strategies. This is all documented in a draft essentially project report, which is available. And some of you who are members of the technical working group have received that. And if anybody would like to obtain a copy of the report, we can provide that link to you. Just let me know after I stop speaking. The other piece of work that's coming out of this is a sort of a detailed approach to regionalizing the Section 5310 funding program, the FTA funding program I mentioned at the beginning. And that is to try and coordinate through RTA the 5310 programs that currently are operated separately by SMART and with DDOT and by in Washtenaw County. And one last thing is that the project did include some funding for a pilot. And I know many of you are familiar with some of the pilots that have been going on. That is something that is deferred. They're still going to do that, but probably not until after the pandemic and after SMART, which is currently undertaking a comprehensive review of its connector service, completes their work on that, because some of the pilots that were thought about would potentially need to align with what's going to come out of the connector analysis. So that's it. I'm happy to answer any questions if people have them. Otherwise, that's my update.
So are there any, excuse me, are there any questions for Mr. Schwartz?
Yeah, this is Rick. That report, what was the name of that report you said that we could, if we were interested in receiving, you would send to us?
Yes, so it is the draft report summarizing the on-hand project. If it's probably not something, I don't think it's posted yet, but I can certainly provide it to you if you provide me with your contact info. I may have it, but.
Could you summarize what's in the report again? I'm sorry.
Oh, absolutely, right. So this is essentially the entirety of the work that we did over the course of the project. So it began with a market analysis. Then it included and I think we presented some of this previously, but it included an inventory of all the different services. Then we did an analysis of sort of the strategies that, what the project goals and needs may be, and then developed a series of strategies and developed them into recommendations. And it's summarizing the result of our efforts. So yeah, be happy if you want to put your name in the chat. We will email you and welcome comments. The comments initially were due this week, but if you need more time to take a look at that, we'd be happy to provide it to you.
Okay, yeah, this is my first meeting. So I'll put my email address in the chat, and if you could forward that to me, I appreciate it.
I'd be happy to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I believe that concludes any new, or excuse me, the special report. Madam Chairman, we're to the old business in the agenda, and we have none. So it's time to go to new business.
And that's the paratransit eligibility. And who's here to talk about that with us?
Hello, this is Josh. I'll touch on it and then Simone can follow up. It was brought to our attention, I don't know, roughly 6 weeks ago that there was a delay in some of the processes and receiving the mail and the mail going out. So we developed a very strict procedure that we are now following. We're picking that mail up. I think it's 3 times a week now. And then they're processing it and sending it back out. On top of that, we're working on vetting an online application process. So you can go on to the website. What we're trying to do is make it a simpler process. So as we're vetting through this, we're trying to make it almost a one-stop shop for you guys. So it's easier and quicker for you guys to reapply and quicker for us to, get your applications back to you. Simone, did you have anything to add to that?
Yes, I have. Go
Ms.
ahead.
Roundtree, when you were talking about the application process, were you talking about as far as receiving or getting to the doctor to have it approved, that portion, or were you saying actually getting the application in mail in your hands?
Whole thing. Getting the application, because you know they messed up the mail here. You know they have talked about we had the slowest mail going. In my area, we have a different mail person every day. Some days we get mail, some days we didn't get mail. I have called about the application. I finally got the application this weekend that just came up. Though they told me they sent out application, from what I understand, 2 or 3 times, but I just finally got one. But I had the last application you had, and my DAAA worker, they're not in their office anymore. So they're working from home. They really aren't supposed to come to your house. My doctor had nobody coming in her office. So there was another thing that I couldn't get done. So my DAAA worker happened to be coming down to the office, and I hadn't gotten the application. So I told her, I said, well, I got this other application. I said, I assume it's the same thing. I didn't know the application was newer. So she came and sat in her car outside of my apartment. So happened I'm on the 1st floor. And she filled out her section in the application I had. Then I found out, no, that's not the right one. Well, she back in her house again. She not supposed to come to the house. Okay, so I'm still not, my doctor's office is still not open. So what I'm supposed to do? Now I just got the application. Now what I'm going to send you is the new application part that I'm going to fill out and the part that she filled out. I'm going to send it to you because that's all I can get.
Okay, and we will gladly accept that. We just received a link for to print off new applications. I believe it's, correct me if I'm wrong, but I know not everyone has access to the printers to print off a new application online. As far as the extension, I know we were honoring a 30-day extension. In extreme circumstances, we will coordinate with DDOT and confirm if we will be able to grant an extension. We don't want your ridership interrupted because of mail delay. So we'll review that on a case-by-case basis. I apologize that you went through so many discrepancies with the mail.
This is the second extension. So when I fill this out, I will put it in the mail as soon as possible. But that means that my extension is supposed to end this month, the end of this month. So by the time you get it, hopefully I'll be okay before the end of this month so that I can go into December and use the services because I have an eye doctor appointment and at least he's open. But the rest of these other folks, some of these people are not open. People don't understand that some of the people, the doctors are not open. Different people are not in their offices. You haven't thought about what's going on. Everybody is not able to get to everything to get stuff done. Like I called Dan and told him, when I went down to the dentist, I had to wait for y'all to pick me up. So happened it was warm. There was no place in University Medical Center for anybody to sit to wait for pickup. And I said to myself, oh my goodness. They said, oh no, it's no place in here for you to sit. So I had to go outside and sit on the stump. And so that's another thing we have to worry about there's no place for our clients to wait because some of them places where they have been waiting is closed up or you can't have any seating or it's only so many places to sit. I've heard of doctor's office say, well, you come in and register and then you go out and sit in your car. What car? Ain't no car.
Ms. Roundtree, this is Josh again. We are aware that the winter weather's coming and there is a team looking at some of those areas where you guys have to wait to see if they're heated. if we can move those around, if we can find better locations. So we do have a team working on that currently. Back to the mail, you're right. I mean, the mail system's really undependable at this point, but we need to make sure we're doing our part to make sure you're getting them out, which is why we're working on the online. And I know online won't work for everybody, but it'd be super easy for you guys, or for some people, if they have access to online. That way you can forward an email to your doctor for his portion without you having to make a trip there. So we're definitely vetting that and working diligently to make that work.
Do you have a sense, Josh, of how many of your riders do have computer capability? I mean,
according to some of the surveys that we've just recently found, including the regional survey, 65%.
Okay.
In that range.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, so then the other one.
Sabrina.
Is the problem.
Yes, so I have a question in regards to all of this. You said there's an online form. Have we ensured that that online form is accessible with screen readers?
We are, like I said, we're currently vetting that. We're working with the DDOT team to make sure that not only is it secure, but the screen readers work as well. Yes.
Okay. Have you engaged with someone who's visually impaired to ensure that? Because there are many different pages on the city's website that claim to be accessible. For example, the survey that Mr. Fisher sent out, it's not accessible. So I just want to make sure that that online process is truly accessible and that we are aware that it is accessible to all.
Okay. Yeah, certainly. Once we have that vetted out a little bit further, we'll definitely reach out to you or somebody else that can.
Okay, you may want to consider, Joshua, you may want to bring up WCAG 2.0 guidelines.
Okay.
They will be instrumental in making sure that the site is accessible to the visually impaired, to everyone. There's some guidelines that will help with accessibility.
Yeah, Sabrina, we're supposed to be, City of Detroit's supposed to be 2.1 compliant at this point, and it might be just a matter of how we present things or post things that we're not doing correctly. So if you have any insight with that, if we could draw on your expertise, or if you know others who are experts in this area, we'd appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's really hard because the mail is messing up so bad. I had a bill I was supposed to get, it haven't gotten here yet. It so happened I just called the company and paid it, but it haven't got in. He told me when I called and paid the bill in another state, he said, "Oh, you the third person I done had today." So it's not just a problem in Michigan, it's all in other states too, because they just messed the mail up so bad because of the election and whatever. It's just terrible. All right.
Any other discussion on this topic?
So you may have to do extensions for, longer than just the 30 days. But I'm gonna try to get this one in as soon as possible with what I have.
And just for point of clarification, so the applications are now going to Transdev for, is that the process now? Because I know Simone spoke on it. So is that not still in-house with DDOT?
Well, Ms. Simmons, it actually is being processed at Transdev. Everyone is working remotely in light of the pandemic. So the mail is picked up and dropped off weekly. So our eligibility team, which is, Jackie Paynes and Brenda Johnson, they are processing the applications and getting the letters mailed out from the TransDev office.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is Pamela King there? Is there anything you would want to say at this point? Yes, Pam. Okay.
Yes, this is Pamela King, Regulatory Compliance Officer, Monitor of Paratransit, along with Josh Reid. There won't be any extensions. In your case, Ms. Roundtree, if you already have a document that's signed by the young lady and it's dated with the correct date and you're just sending in a new application, that's fine. But there won't be any extensions.
It's dated with October date because that's when she filled it out. And then we were going to send it in. And then I was told, no, wait for the new application, which I thought I would get in a couple of days and just send it with the new application. And I'm just now getting the new application.
As Mr. Reid stated, we have a very strict mailing process now. Applications were sitting, those coming in and those going out. That is no longer happening. They will come in once a week, they go out once a week. So everything will be processed on time, okay? Mm-hmm. If I need to push it to 2 days a week, depending upon the volume of mail, I'll look into that and speak with Mr. Reid. But so far, the mail is being exchanged. It's not the US mail. It actually was DDOT. And now we have a strict mailing process for paratransit, okay? As far as extensions, there are no extensions. There are none. Because of the fact it should have never been, we're going with the CFR 4937.123. There are eligibility standards that must be met. What was being done was not supposed to be. We had riders who should not have been riding. It's not a taxi cab. There was no investigation into the process. They were just being sent. Apparently it was for, okay, well, let's do this because it's COVID. There are strict rules and regulations to paratransit that must be met. It's not a taxi cab service. So that's why everything is strict. Okay.
Good, thank you. Ms. Roundtree, you're muted. Still can't hear you, Ms. Roundtree. You're muted.
Don, I have a question. Are we taking questions from our attendees? And if so, I believe there are some raised hands.
That's the next item on the agenda. I'm waiting for Ms. Roundtree to get back to us, okay. And we'll go right there. Ms. Roundtree, you need to unmute. Jennifer, can you help her with that?
Yes, I'm assisting her right now with this.
Okay, while she's figuring that out, then we'll move to public comments. And in the public comment section, we remind you folks that it's you have 2 minutes to make comments related to both paratransit and to our fixed line service. So, Ms. Roundtree, you're back with us?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. So we're starting the public comments section of this meeting. And I'm just reminding people they have 2 minutes and that like to hopefully hear their comments about both paratransit and the fixed line system. So,
Okay, Don, we're going to start with caller last 3 digits in 760. We're going to allow you to speak. Okay. Caller, last 3 digits ending in 760. You are now unmuted. Okay. We will move on to the next caller.
There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Oh, okay. How you doing? How's everybody this morning?
Okay.
This is Daryl Rice, and just a couple of things. One, just to reiterate what Ms. Roundtree was saying, I've had several citizens and writers bring to my attention about the doctor's offices, where many of the offices, especially some of your private offices, are now allowing anyone to come in and sit. You just come in for your appointment, but no extra person. And then when you're done, they ask you to leave and get in your ride. And many people are dropped off through transportation or, a private vehicle. So that's the issue that's ongoing. Secondly, with the application, how far in advance, when it's time for renewal, will one receive the application, so that way they can fill it out and get it to their doctor's office in a timely manner, and the doctor can return it, and so that you can return it back to you in a timely manner? Because many doctor offices, you can't always drop something off and they fill it out, or they'll fill out on their time when they have time. So, there's not always a 30-day window or 2-week window that you can get the information back to you guys. So, I would just like to know, what is that window? And then for Simone, the Sunday hours for scheduling, is that still the same hours as during the week, 8 to 4, or are they limited hours? Thank you very much.
Okay. Hi, Mr. Rice. As far as the window for receiving your application, everyone's certification expires on their birth date. So you can request an application anytime that you would like. We don't automatically send out renewals. Not everyone wants to continue to use the service. So if you do need an application, you would need to call in to request that. So it can be 30 days, it could be 60 days, 90 days, and you can have it in your possession and then schedule your appointment to have your doctor complete it. As far as the date on the application, it has to be at least 30 days out. It can't be older than 30 days for us to process. As far as our Sunday schedule,
You're muted again, Simone.
okay. What was the last thing that you heard me say?
Your Sunday schedule.
8 to 4. Yes, thank you.
Anything else? If not, we'll move on to our next caller.
Okay, we have Mr. Bernard. We're going to move you into the panelist section so you can speak. One moment.
Okay, hi. Good morning, everyone. Can you all hear me?
Yes, Renard, how are you?
Hi, Don. This is Renard Mashinsky. I'm calling from Detroit People's Platform Transit Justice Team. My comment today is on a couple of items regarding fixed service. One of them, I'm curious to just learn about the progress of the Yellow Mint program, or rather this Yellow Mint that signals to drivers that, hey, I have a non-visible disability. I need accommodations in the front. I'm hearing some mixed, and I've been doing some surveying myself of bus riders that use the fixed line, and there seems to be some sort of incidents where people are not reporting this, but individuals with canes, or they may not have a walker or wheelchair, but short of that, they still are displaying some sort of disability. They're still being asked board the back of the bus. And I do understand the drivers are nervous about having people close up there, but if someone is entitled to board that bus under the American Disabilities Act in the front, there needs to be some sort of clear communique to the drivers, because it seems like the drivers enact policy on their bus. This is my bus. I don't care what that is. People are not sitting up there unless they have some visible disability or they ask me. And I think that's too much control to the drivers, and the drivers need some sort of training on disability awareness as well too. I honestly think that the department just, hey, here's your CDL. Thanks for driving with us. Let's get you on the bus and everything, but not give them the accountability and the training needed. So that's that. Like, I really think that this yellow mid thing could be something on the website. Like, hey, click and request this. It can be sent to you. Now, the other thing on my comment is about the paratransit and the renewal process. I think for people with this permanent disabilities, there should not have to be a renewal process. But what I've heard in a previous comment that everyone does not want to renew that service as well too. But there should be a one call, click, or visit. I'm not sure about the visits under COVID, sort of mechanism to get people to make sure that their application for the paratransit gets in, because there shouldn't be any instances where there has to be extensions, where people left at the office, their doctor's office, or, these other things of that sort too. So this is more of a question. What is the new director going to do about paratransit moving forward? Is it going to be brought in-house? Is it going to be improved? Are we going to go with a different type of contractor? Other than that, I would like to yield the rest of my time, and thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Renard, for your questions. I'll speak to, unless Mr. Smith wants to chime in here.
Why would Mr. Smith chime in?
Yeah, so I can touch base on that. So earlier on the call, well, first off, thank you, Renard, for your comments and for reporting that out to us. And again, it's always appreciative to know. Of course, we don't have all of our eyes out there on the road. So when you are able to report those things and make us aware, it is appreciated. But secondly, earlier on the call, I did make mention that effective Monday, November 30th, our operators will be going through their refresher training, which has a heavy emphasis on all ADA policies. We are being very, very aggressive with the training. You will be looking at about 30 drivers per day that will be getting trained, and we will have that completed before Christmas. So at that time frame, again, we have heard the complaints. It just took a little while, of course, to kind of build the training out, get all of the complaints, even outside of just issues that we have with the ADA community. But since that's what you may mention, I'll kind of address that piece. But also in addition to that, was currently they're going through our de-escalation and our customer service training to also address their lack of empathy, their communication style, the tactics that they're using on their buses and on the coaches to address passengers in general. So we have implemented that. We did hear you all on that training piece. And so all of those proactive measures that we're trying to put in place, we should see a change. But again, it is a case-by-case basis. So when those instances happen, we are following the proper steps to make sure that the operators that are at fault are disciplined and are found at fault for whatever it is that they have done on the coach and not abiding by our policies.
And those individuals who have submitted ADA complaints regarding all those actions of not being able to board, no matter what their disability, we're well aware that if you ask to board by the front, you're supposed to. I've processed probably 15 complaints in the last 3 weeks, and we've substantiated many of them. And as Ms. Smith said, a lot of those drivers are now being disciplined as appropriate to the where they stand within the disciplinary process. So that's what's happening with that. The Yellow Mitt Club, you can always, there is information on the website that people want to know. It is for wheelchair riders who cannot get to bus stops, or those who have, some real issues in getting there. It's a case-by-case basis. We'll look at it if people are interested, but for the most part, it is a wheelchair only MIT process. With regards to the paratransit questions, I don't know, Josh, do you want to handle it or?
Absolutely,
or Pam?
thank you.
Yeah.
Bernard, thanks again for that question. And Pam King and myself and the compliance team are looking diligently at different options that we may have for not only eligibility, but renewals. But obviously, we're working with FTA to make sure that we're compliant. And during this pandemic, there are some leniencies, but not many. And we just need to make sure that the direction that we do go works well for all of us and that we're compliant with FTA. Any changes, we'll definitely mark it to you guys and let you know.
And as far as answering your question as to will it get better, it absolutely is going to get better, guaranteed.
All right, thank you. Jennifer, is anyone else?
No, we are all set, Don.
Okay. Very good. Thank you for those public comments. Mrs. Roundtree, where are you? Okay.
Are there anything else that anyone would like to talk about?
Yes, this is Brian Fisher again. I just wanted to remind everybody that the updated link is in the chat to fill out. I know that we did have some difficulties earlier, but we have that voluntary survey in there so that way we can capture those that are on this call for future and also be able to abide so that we can make sure no discrimination or denial is occurring. Thank you for, again, allowing me to speak.
All right. Okay.
Sabrina.
Go ahead, Sabrina.
Would you want to say something,
Okay.
Sabrina?
Yeah, I was asking for the floor. So there's just one thing that I wanted to bring up because I don't like the idea of being a part of this committee and finding out about things after the fact. So case in point, there was an issue with same-day service over the past 3 months. So between the last meeting and this meeting where same-day service, based on some consumers calling me that they weren't able to ride same-day service. When I did call and leave a message, and they weren't able to ride the same-day service, I believe there was some miscommunication at TransDev in regards to this. And then I sent a message out, and then lo and behold, the miscommunication was cleared up, and the person was able to ride like 2 or 3 days later. I just want everyone involved to make sure that they truly are engaged in the local advisory committee. Miss Yvonne Roundtree is the chairperson. I'm the vice chair, and the members of this committee, we should be well informed.
Right.
And over informed. There is email. We all do email. I do struggle with getting attachments from anyone at the city. So when I get an attachment, it comes in some windmill form and it's not accessible. But I'm pretty efficient on the computer, and with all of my technical skills and abilities, I just think that it's a disgrace to each and every member of this committee and Don for us to have to call him up. I know he's the ADA coordinator, but for us to have to call him up with anything that is changing with paratransit or fixed route service, and it's not known to us prior to it happening. I mean, this is supposed to be a partnership, and I just want everyone to keep that in mind, that the members of this committees should be partners with DDOT and not an afterthought. Thank you.
That's true.
Sabrina, this is Josh Reid. I'm going to reach out to you after this. I didn't realize we had an issue with same-day service at all, so I'd like to touch base with you and try to figure out who those clients were, and we can investigate that. Thanks for bringing it to our attention.
Thank you.
And Sabrina, this is Pamela King. I had no idea that there was a problem either. So if you could, start contacting me, between me and Josh, we can handle that, because I had no idea either.
Okay.
But there's a lot of things, Pamela, that don't get known. I mean, did you realize that there was no place for people to sit when they go to the doctor's offices or down the receiving, and everything down there was closed up, and that when they got through with their appointments, they had to leave one area and there was no place to sit waiting for transportation to pick them up? Did you know that?
I did hear of one case, and only one, and I do know that Miss Reeves, Tamika Reeves, had went out to find a location, but the rest of the locations, no ma'am. I only can know what you let me know. That I can't monitor and be helpful if I don't know. And Mr. Reid can't either. We have to know. That's when I found out about the mail. That's when we came up with a strict mailing routine. We gotta know. I had no idea, but I do now.
What you don't understand, it's not that y'all's picking up y'all part of the mail, that's fine. But once you put it in the US mail, that's where the big mess up is, okay? So you may put it out, but the big mess up was in the US mail because they were messing up because they were cutting back in the US mail. Because the mail carriers we were getting here in the building were frustrated. Because the one guy said, I am so tired of the mess they doing in the post office, I don't know what to do. I mean, anytime you get your mail at 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah, I witnessed that.
Right, so once you put the application in there, we may get it, we may not. It was the US mail that was messing up most of the time. Like I said, when I called 3 times and they kept saying, the first time, they didn't see where it had been sent out. The second time, when they sent one out, I never got it. Then the third time, and like I said, I started to send the old one I had, and so Don said, well, she said, no, they sent you one. I said, well, she filled out the part for the of the old one. And so she said, well, you can send the part she filled out when you get the new one. I said, okay, I will. And the new one finally came, but it wasn't y'all's fault. It was their fault.
Okay. Sabrina,
I think it was their fault, not necessarily y'all's fault.
to Sabrina's point, there is a lot of moving parts right now. We all know that we've had to adapt quickly and thoroughly, and a lot of different things over the last 9 months. I would suggest this, that I will talk with Pam King, and that maybe we can do an update at a certain interval every 2 weeks or whatever regarding ADA and fixed line services, so that the LAC is aware of issues and concerns that may be pertinent to this body. But we can have that conversation and we'll figure out something so that people don't have to wait every 3 months, feel like, hey, we should have known this a month or so ago.
Right.
I think it's important that we establish communication, as Sabrina said, and work as close as we can, because we never see each other in person anymore, and electronic means has some limitations, we all know. So we're going to have to really work at communicating. Is that reasonable, Sabrina?
That is reasonable.
Okay,
and to piggyback on Miss Yvonne Roundtree, just to let you know about mail delivery in the city of Detroit. Last week, I received mail for the first day of the week on Thursday, and then again on Sunday. So mail delivery in the city is very sporadic, and it's almost to our detriment. So just be aware of that. If it's not a heavy package, you are likely to be 2 or 3 weeks of receiving mail out. So just be mindful of that.
Right.
Well,
and
we
see,
can
we
always
have never
institute
been
the.
through what we're going through now, because this is something new. And people, every doctor's office got different rules. Every organization got different rules. People are not in their offices. So it's a very big mess. And patients are upset. I'm listening to the people in my building complaining, not being able to get to this doctor or this, that, and the other. So it's a mess. So you can't blame the client for things they can't get or they can't get to. So, you got to kind of give and take a little bit, something new to everybody.
Okay, well, we'll try to figure out a process, at least try to eliminate some of the communication issues and get information into people. Because, the cool thing, in my opinion today, we've heard a lot of initiatives, a lot of things that are happening, with data, with marketing, with operations. I mean, these are all, with all the troubles and all the things that we have to worry about on a daily basis, there's some very positive things that are moving forward. So we need to understand everything that's going on. And Pam and I, if you're receptive to that, Pam, we'll work on trying to make sure everybody gets the latest and greatest information.
Mm-hmm.
Great, thank you so much.
Okay, Madam Chairman.
If there's nothing else, then we are through, and our next meeting is scheduled for February 16th, 2021. Oh my goodness, I thought I would never hear that. So someone, yes, Dan?
Oh, we need a motion for adjournment?
Right.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Yes, I second.
All right, it has been moved and seconded that we adjourn this meeting until February 16th, 2021. And may I say to everyone, have a happy Thanksgiving and Christmas. Be safe, take care of yourself, and hopefully we don't have to shut down again.
And hopefully we can see some of you on Thursday at the community meeting. So
yeah,
so we can get more information.
Don, I'm not sure if Marguerite had something to say, but she just said hello and that she was just coming from the city council meeting. That was in the chat.
Council meeting. Oh, well, does she have something she wanted to say?
Yes, she's unmuted. Ms. Marguerite, are you available?
Yes, thank you. I missed most of it, but due to the conversation between Don, Devon, and Sabrina. My suggestion is how about trying to communicate by text message? Because I think that text message will let everybody know what's going on. And another topic is the long haul buses. And some of you know that I have been pushing for ADA kneeling of the bus close to the curb. They have been doing a good job, except when I tell them to come close to the curb. So should it be the operational training procedures, whether they have people like me tell them how close they can get to the curb.
I want you to know how close they can get to.
And when I did go out and take public transportation,
I did the presentation.
Walk around my neighborhood
When I did the
and see how close they get. Some of them are not getting close at all in my neighborhood. My neighborhood is surrounded by Dexter, Woodward Avenue, Pinker, and Hamilton.
My neighborhood is surrounded around Woodward, Finkel, and Hamilton.
So, thank you.
Okay, Mark.
Thank you for letting me get on.
Okay, Marguerite, you know, we've been addressing that, and hopefully this new refresher course will bring that particular issue up and can be discussed, because that's all part of ADA compliance. So keep expressing that thought, and we'll keep working to try to resolve it. So I'd like to let everybody know that Marguerite's one of our secret writers too. So I hear from her often. So.
And Marguerite, let me say that that Don had a program where, in this particular case, we were visually impaired. So he had particular glasses for us. And I got out to get on the bus. And I exactly know what you mean, because I thought I was stepping up and onto a step, and I actually stepped straight down past the curb. So we will be adjusting. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And that was, I didn't know what was going on. I could have hurt myself, you know, so I definitely get what you're saying.
Yep. Okay, with that, I think we're done, Madam Chairman.
Yes, we are. So everybody have a nice holiday and Happy New Year. See you in February.
Okay, be well, everybody.
Everybody stay safe.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Okay.
Take care.